Who are the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten going into 2026? Is Dante Moore number one? What about Julian Sayin? That gets discussed on today's Locked On Big Ten Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big Ten Squad, sponsored by Game Time. From USC to Ohio State, from Michigan to Oregon, from Nebraska to Washington, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big Ten weekend. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big Ten Squad.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to this week's three-man Locked On Big Ten Squad. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, the host of Locked On Ducks. Neutral arbiter couldn't be found this week. He's lost in a dangerous wilderness somewhere. Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies is here with Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. Of all the hosts to show up for the quarterback show, how about Locked On Hawkeyes legend Trent Condon? I tell you what, the irony is not lost on me. So everybody sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy it. Why don't we start with the list that was put out by Tom Fornelli over at CBS Sports? And I think it's a great list. I don't know that a better list has ever been put out in the history of college football.
He's got history of lists, and I was going to be stunned there for a second.
Well, it's close. It's close, but there have been some great lists out there. So I didn't want to be too dramatic. You know, I wanted to have the proper amount of excitement there. Dante Moore's number one. Nice. Julian Sayin, number two. Jayden Maiava, 3. Josh Hoover, 4. Damon Williams, 5. Rocco Becht at Penn State, 6. Bryce Underwood at Michigan, 7. Caden Houser, number 8 at Illinois. Malik Washington, 9 at Maryland. Sneaky good pick. Number 10, Colton Joseph at Wisconsin. Roman, let's start with the top 5 and your guy Damon Williams coming in at number 5. Is that right that he's behind Josh Hoover, Jayden Maiava, Julian Sayin, and Dante Moore? I know at least one of those is right, but you can debate the others if you like.
So the one that I sat there and looked at was, is Josh Hoover the one that you really want to put him ahead of Damon Williams at this point in time? And then I remember we had the same conversation on this show a year ago as it pertained to Fernando Mendoza. So yeah, I think this is right. I think this is fair. And with Damon's struggles in the big games last season, in the 3 losses to teams that were ranked at the end of the year, and then Wisconsin, this feels like the right spot because there are still things in Damon Williams' game that are not perfect. He still needs to continue to throw over the middle of the field, and he needs to be better about throwing the ball away at different points in time and not taking hits when he doesn't need to. But after just 1 year as a starter, as a true sophomore, I feel really good about where he is. And I feel like we could look back on this at the end of the year and say it's a little low, even though things are still a little awkward in that case, as Tom Fornelli noted in that article.
Yeah, the Josh Hoover thing, Trent, I think is appropriate. Has he taken a snap in the Big Ten? No. He was my number one most impactful quarterback transfer of the offseason just because I had him as my number one quarterback in the Big 12 going into last year over on Locked On College Football. He then goes to Indiana. The system couldn't be any better. I mean, Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza, what were those guys before they went to play for Curt Cignetti, right? And what do we think about them now? I think that, frankly, there's a divide we'll talk about in just a moment after, kind of at Damon Williams, I should say. But overall, I think Tom's done some good work here, Trent.
I do too. And, you know, the crazy thing is I see Hoover at 4. I'm huge on him. I think he's going to have a tremendous year. And, you know, where we're located, I cover both Iowa and Iowa State, so Big 12 and Big 10 together. I've seen a lot of Josh Hoover over the last 3 years. Always felt like there was even more upside to him. A lot of turnovers. That's been the knock against him. And it reminds me so much of the conversations we were having with Mendoza. A lot of people believe, myself included, it was going to be an upgrade. Nobody could have envisioned, I don't think, the season, obviously, that he put together this past year coming from Cal, where he had to do a lot and maybe he tried to do a little bit too much. And I think the same kind of thing is going to happen here with Josh Hoover. Live arm, can make all the throws. Definitely a tremendous talent that's coming in there. You couple it with the fit that they're going to have. I maybe would even have him a spot higher in this list because we got to see with Maiava this year what it's going to look like without that tremendous wide receiver group they had a season ago. So this was one at Hoover. Some people might think that's a little bit high. I think it was even a touch low. I think he's going to be incredible this season for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I think Hoover could be at least at number 3. I like Dante Moore, Julian Sayin back-to-back. Look, Craig Sheeman of Locked On Big Ten is here, just a little bit behind schedule as always. That's the way that things roll along, and that's okay. We like Craig anyway, no matter when he shows up. So what do you think of Tom Fornelli's top 5? We'll get to the back half in a moment, Craig. But Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, Jayden Maiava, Josh Hoover, Damon Williams as the top 5 quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Any objections there on your part?
I don't have any. By the way, now it's officially a squad. Well, we got 4 people, so I apologize.
Yeah, I think that's the threshold.
I couldn't help but think about last year at this time. We thought, Stone Cold Lock, we're going to have Drew Aller was going to dominate the Big Ten. Dante Moore was on the list. Nobody saw Fernando Mendoza coming. And now I think it's Dante Moore and everybody else on my list anyway. I think he is primed and ready to go. Yeah, I know you'll love it.
That's great.
Craig, you missed it. He's not stuff. Neutral arbiter of college football.
Great stuff. No, I couldn't locate him. He's gone off the reservation for a little while.
Nut Boy is back.
Frankly, when you only have 3 to 4, the neutral arbiter has to go out the window and has to actually opine a little bit to keep the show moving, right?
Yeah, well, we were the Three Stooges before, but now we are a squad of 4. We are very, very mighty indeed. There is an interesting similarity between guys seated 5th through 10th on this list, and just for the sake of Ryan Herrings, we've got to talk about Colton Joseph making an appearance. You know what? Wisconsin quarterback play's been awesome the last couple of years. We will talk about that. The Big Ten squad continues. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. Moments like Fernando Mendoza's 4th and 5 quarterback draw. I mean, absolute stone cold killer. That guy, I can't believe it was the play call at some level, though I understand because, it worked out, of course, for the Indiana Hoosiers. Even Mendoza said he couldn't believe that was the call, but went out, got a block from Pat Coogan, executed in Indiana, won the Big Ten's 3rd straight national championship. Those moments remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's the extra work off the field, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit mentality. Mazda puts that same passion into every single model. Highlights like Fernando Mendoza's scramble, amongst other great plays made by the quarterbacks on this list, they make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There is more to a Mazda because there is more to you. All right, here's the cutoff that I notice after 4, and you could maybe even put Hoover into this particular camp. I think the common theme, Roman, I'm starting with you on this, between guys 5 through 10 is questioning whether they can deliver in the big game. You mentioned it with Damon Williams earlier, but Bryce Underwood looked good against some lower level competition, but against some of the best teams, not all of them, some of the best ones he played this past year, like Ohio State, didn't look quite as good. Rocco Becht, same sort of thing. He's got, I think, a little bit more big game cachet, but I think we're all sitting here wondering, is he really capable of being one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten? Am I just overreacting to something that clicked in my head 3 minutes ago?
No, I think this is fair because I bring up the Damon Williams part and all that. With Rocco Becht on top of that, we have to see it against Big Ten defenses now, which is going to be a completely different discussion than what it was in the Big 12. And I want to take a step further, Spencer, because you talked a little bit about Malik Washington earlier. I think that he's a little underrated on this list. And this is one of those guys where I don't even want to, because it's just so rare to go out there and see these true freshman quarterbacks deliver in such big moments. I don't know if it's necessarily fair to lump him into that category this early in his career. And I feel like with just some of the defense that we saw from Maryland last year as well, you can't throw so much of that on him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him potentially take a big step forward this season too.
Yeah, I agree. The completion percentage wasn't there, but threw for almost 3,000 yards on a dreadful Maryland team. 17 touchdowns, 9 picks, 58% completion percentage. So I'm with you at number 9. Like Caden Houser at 8 at Illinois. Like, am I really sure? Trent, would you take Houser over Washington at this point in time? I don't know that I would.
Absolutely not. And I mean, if all things are equal, we know that Maryland will get off to a tremendous start and then they'll fall apart in the back 2/3 of the year like they do seemingly every single season.
Death taxes in Maryland's path.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you could have September Washington, it'd be a no-brainer. And overall, I mean, if you put Washington in Illinois' spot, and if you took Houser and put him in Maryland's spot, would you have the rankings the same? Yeah, I'm completely with you. You talk about upside for Malik Washington. It's definitely there. We saw the spurts in his first year and a lot of excitement about it. Is he going to have enough help, though? That remains the question. In terms of raw talent, I think you could even make an argument for Washington. He should be up maybe in that 5-6 range when you're talking about that. But I'm sure there's a little bit more that goes into it than just what we think about these guys, their prospects, how good they are, because it's also about your surrounding talent. That's the big question, obviously, at Maryland.
Craig, I want to throw this one at you, specifically in the 7 versus 6 matchup. I will not be saying it the other way just for the dumbest meme of all time.
Thank you.
Would you really? No, Craig. That was not an
I'm just
invitation
showing
to
you.
do that.
I'm
No,
just showing
Craig.
you. Somebody my age knows what that.
Gosh darn it. I have laughed at this nonsense, and I hate myself for it. Anyway, would you take Rocco Becht over Bryce Underwood? Because I like Rocco Becht, gamer, but man, Bryce Underwood's upside is what? Top 10 pick in the NFL draft? Rocco Becht can't sniff that area. Michigan's actually got him a quarterback coach. Kyle Whittingham is there. Heck, I might take Bryce Underwood over Damon Williams, and I like Damon Williams.
I think that's fair. The fact that he didn't have a quarterback coach and the whole Sharon Moore, I guess, that looking back, it wasn't really a good developmental staff for him. And I remember when Bryce Underwood said, no, I'm still going to LSU. I'm not going to Michigan next door because I want to go play for Brian Kelly and develop myself as a quarterback. And then all of a sudden $12 million showed up from Oracle. He's like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a Wolverine. He didn't develop at all last year. In fact, I think he played better when Biff Poggi was calling the shots for those 2 games. Or actually 3 when you include the bowl game. But I was fascinated early on in the year last year between Bryce Underwood and Malik Washington. I was willing it to happen. Like, oh, maybe we can have a Big Ten freshman of the year battle week in and week out. And actually early on last year, if I recall, when we're wondering when we could take the training wheels off of Bryce Underwood, Malik Washington was throwing a couple of 300-yard games here and there. And part of that is because he's at Maryland. Say what we will about Mike Locksley. Say what we will that they are guaranteed to start out 4-0 and then probably finish 4-8. Did you know that Talia Tagovailoa is the all-time leading passer of the Big Ten from when he was at Maryland? A lot of people don't realize that. But they throw the ball there at Maryland. So it's a great spot for him to be. I don't know how much longer Locksley's going to be there. But I am looking at Underwood to take a massive step forward this year. I'm looking forward to spring football. I just want to check it out a little bit. I actually did a podcast on it a couple of days ago. I think the pressure's on his shoulders. I think he's got everything in place to get himself developed. We like to see a lot of improvement from year 1 to year 2. This is Bryce Underwood's trophy to take, not by Big Ten championship trophy, but just really to go up and take that next step as a quarterback, I think, this year. And yeah, you're right. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL someday, I think.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, the last quarterback for Michigan didn't work out as well in the NFL. I got a buddy who's a Vikings fan who are not the Super Bowl champions like my Seahawks. What do you think, Roman?
Yeah.
I tell you one point about Maryland. See, Roman's got nothing there. It was great. Anyway,
I just disagree.
One, you
Not
disagree that
this thing, though. By the way,
yeah, disagree that the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Is that what we're disagreeing on?
I disagree. It's not a
this
is the Big Ten squad.
Yeah, it is, but you're a Patriots guy for no particular reason.
Really?
I mean, there is a good reason, but yeah,
there is a good reason.
That's okay. One thing with Maryland, Craig, that I could see happening. I think we're all waiting for Mike Locksley to get fired at some point. Can you imagine the lineup of programs that are going to go and try and raid that Maryland roster? You're going to have Malik Washington with 2 years of developmental experience in a passing offense. And they've got Zion Ely, who's one of the top players in the country, coming in. And look, maybe Maryland's NIL collective can pull a rabbit out of the hat and keep those guys around. But man, I think whenever that domino falls, those are just the 2 most high-profile pieces that I think schools like Oregon, Ohio State, big-time SEC programs are just going to try and go after.
I
You
think
can't forget the other two
Zion.
edge rushers either.
That's the
Right, yes, correct.
Zion's the 5-star offensive lineman coming in, right?
Defensive lineman, yeah.
Okay. I think that guy's the only reason that Loxley still has a job. They didn't want to lose him when he committed. I think that's the only reason he's still there right now. And you're right; those two pieces, gonzo if he gets fired.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty quickly out the door. When we get back, I have a question for Trent that is certainly on everybody's mind because everyone wants to know the answer to this question. First, this episode brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. The biggest stretch of the college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, it's bucket list stuff. The hardest part is always actually getting tickets. Long queues, prices jumping around, surprise fees at checkout. That's why you want to use the Game Time app, which gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I have tickets on my phone to 2 different types of events in 2 different cities in the coming months that I bought on Game Time. Why? Because I got a great deal. I know exactly what to expect. The process is easy. They're right on my phone. I've never had an issue, and I've used Game Time several times in the past. It is the way you want to go for college basketball or anything else. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Now it is time for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. You know what? I'm going to bring the rest of the Big Ten squad back in for this one. Give me your number 1 5-hour energy flavor big board prospect. I am a strawberry watermelon guy through and through. High upside, very low risk. Roman, who's number 1 on your big board?
I got to go strawberry banana here. Every time I go to a smoothie, that's one of my go-to flavors. And if I ever need a little boost, that's where I got to go.
Trent, who is at the top of your list?
Well, you guys know me. I'm an incredibly sweet person, so it's about blue raz for me. It's the flavor you can't find out there anywhere else. I'm looking for that deep prospect, blue raspberry.
That's a good pick. Good pick there from Trent Condon. Craig, number 1 on your big board.
Is there any other pick than pomegranate? Let's go wild. Let's go crazy.
Whoa!
Absolutely.
Wild card pick there from Craig Sheeman of Locked On Big Ten. You can get your 5-hour energy flavor as well to stay energized all throughout the day. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right, Trent, the question on everybody's mind. How in the world is an Iowa quarterback not on somebody's list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the Big Ten? And as a reminder, there are 18 teams in this conference, meaning if you're not in the top 10, you don't have a top half quarterback in the league. How is that possible, Trent?
Top 9, Spencer.
I know. I'm saying if you're not in the top 10, you're not in the top half. I suppose. Oh, I see what you're saying because Colton Joseph technically doesn't apply. Yeah, go ahead, Trent.
It's not surprising, and I can't come back with any ammunition. Look, Jeremy Hechtlinski, who is the presumed starter, nobody's seen him. He played 3 snaps at Wake Forest as a freshman, redshirted that year. He was the number 3 quarterback coming into this season, actually supplanted Hank Browne after Iowa blew the game and was a screen pass away from beating Indiana back in October, as we all know. Had him beat with the screen pass. Hank Browne couldn't complete it, and Indiana continues their undefeated run.
Not competing against Indiana? That's us right here.
Yeah, that's you guys had different conversations.
We got
in that one, definitely. So with Hechtlinski, the thing that I do get excited about, I have no problem with him being 18th. I think he probably should be 18th on this list because we really don't know. He's a little guy. He's 5'11". He's not thick either. It's not, a situation where we're talking about a big, strong guy, but he can move around. And what we've seen these last couple of years, and certainly this last season, with a quarterback that is mobile, moving past the Spencer Petruses, the Nate Stanleys of the world, and getting to a more dynamic quarterback that can at least do something with their legs. Gronowski was a stud with that. The passing wasn't quite there. Hechtlinski's got a lot of upside, a lot of excitement. And to do that, to take over the backup role in the middle of the season at a program like Iowa, Kirk Ferentz doesn't like to do things like that. He does not like to make any kind of movement at the quarterback position. I think says a lot about what Tim Lester's looking for in a quarterback. I think you're going to see continued development out of the passing game. And I think by the end of the season, he's not certainly going to be the 18th quarterback in this league. The question for Hawkeye fans is probably going to need a little bit more out of the quarterback throwing the ball this year. Could even be in the top dozen, the top 12. You put him 12th next season. You give that to me right now on a platter. Say he will be the 12th best quarterback in the Big Ten. I would take it because that means I was at minimum probably 9-3. Very well could be 10-2.
Craig, you look eager to jump in.
Yeah. First of all, can I say that your tease going into the break, hey, big question for Trent. I mean, you had me hooked. I was like, where are we going next? And to come out and deliver by talking about the 18th ranked quarterback in the Big Ten, who we hope to be number 12. Remember when we were kids and we say, yeah, we're number 1. Does anybody have a foam finger that says, hey, we're number 12?
You just gotta buy one of those peace foam fingers and then hold them up together.
No,
12.
Great job by you.
I have been beaten down.
Thank you.
Iowa football.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of 5'11" quarterbacks, Roman, any comment on whether they can have success in the Big Ten?
They certainly can. We've seen that, right? Damon Williams had a game where he threw 400 yards and rushed for 130. It's certainly very possible. So Trent, if that's your biggest holdup, there's hope for you, brother.
Very nice. Very, very nice. I want to talk about Colton Joseph. That's a name plenty of folks probably don't know. But, Craig, I want to start with you on this. Colton Joseph, FCS transfer coming over to be Luke Fickell's savior. And I'm not being facetious when I say the best thing he could do for Luke Fickell is don't get hurt. It has been 2 straight seasons of banged up starters and a lineup of backups that don't meet the smell test for what you need to compete in the Big Ten. I think that's the biggest task ahead of him because something's obviously in the water up there in Madison, right?
I would even argue if they were to stay healthy, I had no expectations of the quarterbacks he brought in. I've already forgotten the kid from Miami that got hurt after 2 games from a couple of years ago.
Oh, Tyler Van Dyke.
I've never high on him because he was hot and cold. To come out and say we're going to change all of Wisconsin from ground and pound to dairy raid, and you lead with Tanner Mordecai. What are we doing? The kids he's bringing in to transfer, he keeps striking out a quarterback. That's the big problem. And I grant you, they got injured, but I was never thrilled with the guys he was bringing in the first place. And you think a guy like Luke Fickell could get the quarterback position right, or at least just be middle of the road. Be like Iowa, root for the 12th best. 12th, something.
12th.
Yeah. Sorry for the shot, but that's all it would take. Just be mediocre at quarterback, and Luke Fickell can coach for many, many more years.
Can I throw this at you as a name that's not on the list, but is a big name, and if the situation's right, we've seen how good he can be. No Nico Iamaleava on this list.
He's on the list.
He's number 12.
He's 12.
Number 12. What you're shooting for? But we're just. Yes, he's Iowa's dream.
I was just looking at the top 10, and look, Colton Joseph, interesting guy coming over to Wisconsin this offseason. How many amongst the 4 of us, show of hands, how many of you, if your team, for Roman that's Washington, me that's Oregon, Trent that's Iowa, Craig that's Indiana, if you had the choice in the portal going into this year between Colton Joseph and Nico Iamaleava, how many of you are taking Colton Joseph? For those listening on audio, that is 0 for 4. How many of you are taking Nico in that debate?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, all 4. That's 4 hands for Nico. That's like the most positive moment on a podcast Nico has had said about him in a very long time. It's the only reason I wanted us to put our hands up right there. But I think that could be the biggest riser. I mean, I don't know, Roman, Bob Chesney, UCLA. I've seen crazier things happen.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's if that's the way you want to look at it. I just can't get over just how often he turns the ball over and just some of the dumb things he does multiple times a game, man. Just running into sacks and all these different things. Can Bob Chesney turn it around? Sure. It's going to take a whole lot to convince me that he actually is going to be able to do it with Nico specifically.
I mean, Nico beat Penn State last year.
Yeah. I'll give you a hot take. 19th ranked quarterback that maybe keep an eye on. Tavien St. Clair as a 5-star kid who's been sitting in Ohio State for a year. Julian Sayin, I know he was a Heisman finalist. He got almost no votes. He was like last place of the 4 finalists there. He's not mobile at all, but Tavien St. Clair is mobile. He's thick. He's strong. I don't know. I would just say stranger things have happened there too. Keep an eye on him, because what are they going to do? Park him for 2 straight years as a 5-star? They're going to lose him. I don't know. I'm going to be curious watching that battle, because I think there might be a little bit of a battle in spring football between those two at Ohio State.
Interesting. Trent, anybody not on the top 10 list that you think could get there by the end of the year?
Yeah, Nico, I think, is an interesting conversation at the very least, as we've kind of run through that. I go all the way down. The kid from Michigan State, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name right now because I'll screw it up, but we saw glimpses of him last season where you saw somebody that has something. We'll see what it looks like, kind of everything and all the new pieces that are going to go around there, but maybe not even top 10, back to the top 12 again. I think that's a guy that could definitely ascend up the list. He showed enough last year with Sparty that could be a guy we'll be talking about that. Yeah, there was a lot of improvement that we saw as a full year as a starter.
How about the guy that he's replacing, Aidan Chiles?
I was just about to say, no one's showing love to Aidan Chiles and his offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, what a world. What a world.
In a brand new stadium coming sometime, not for opening day.
Yeah, not for opening day, but they'll have it at some point in time. We'll wrap it there. Roman Thomas, Shav, Locked On Huskies, Trent Condon, Locked On Hawkeyes, Craig Sheeman, Locked On Big Ten. I'm Spencer McLaughlin from Locked On Ducks and Locked On College Football. Appreciate everyone listening. We will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.